Ooh, alrighty, what do we got? Opponent gets to be on the play. Assuming they ever arrive. Oh, right. Also, we can turn on the chat. Huh. Doesn't that not actually back-populate? I didn't realize that. Interesting. Yeah, alright. Flame Blast Bolt, Shark Typhoon. We're on the draw. Alright, well. An extremely slow hand on the draw against a control deck is not, or against an aggro deck that has turn 1 Llanowar Elves. Not the best. I'm assuming aggro. Usually that's true. Not a lot of other versions of Llanowar Elves. Okay, we are playing against Shaman combo. We have Day of Judgment. That's not bad. I wonder if I'm supposed to Flame Blast Bolt the Llanowar Elves. Before they untap and can potentially play Rage Forger. 4 mana. Chandra then? No. Oh, they just want to do 1 extra damage with the Llanowar Elf, I guess? Okay. Alright, well, in response... Am I supposed to Flame Blast Bolt the Pyromancer? Or am I supposed to Flame Blast Bolt the Rage Forger? I'm probably supposed to prevent more damage by hitting the Rage Forger. So let's see. If I hit the Pyromancer, I take 1 extra damage this turn, 2 extra damage next turn. I guess actually it kind of ends up being equal. So in that case, exiling the Pyromancer so they can't make 1/1s with it later on is beneficial for me. Interesting. There's the potential that I'm supposed to steal the Llanowar Elf here to give me my 4th land to cast Day of Judgment. I think you might want at least 1 Veto main deck. I feel like there's a lot of matchups where that isn't terribly useful, is the concern. I don't disagree that there are matchups where it's nice, for sure. Okay, so opponent goes and seeks a Shaman, attacks for 6, 9, 11, puts me to 3. Feel like I could let them put me to 2 and Archmage's Charm to draw 2 to try to hit the untap land. The upside on that is higher. Do I need more upside when the opponent's about to draw with... I don't think I need more upside, and I don't think I want to risk 1, taking more damage, and 2, whiffing on the untap land draw off of drawing 2 with the Archmage's Charm. Because if I don't get to Day of Judgment next turn, I do just super lose. They can tap elves. I'm not anticipating that I block with the elves, and the reason that I'm doing it at that time is I actually want to force them to use the floating mana, because I want them to play creatures out into Day of Judgment. Alright, well, we did find a land drop, which is nice. We get to Day of Judgment. Oh, they play the land that sacks to deal 2, which actually makes not going to 2 kind of meaningful here. Seasoned Pyromancer. Oh, that's a gross good draw. Yeah, there's the Remanep Ruins. That's annoying. I could shock, go to 1, uptick hero, Lightning Helix to 4. No, that kills me. Shockland's just not helpful, is it? that was a regular untap land, I could make a chump blocker with Shark Typhoon. That'd be helpful. Divine Purge against Seasoned Pyromancer kind of sucks a lot, doesn't it? Does that mean I should kill Seasoned Pyromancer? I can't really handle if they use that ability at instant speed, though. Alright, 2-6, down to 3. Alright. Need more removal spells. Lightning Helix or the 1 mana Flame Blessed Bolt. Flame Blessed Bolt might be the best draw, because then we get to play Teferi, down tick on the Elemental, and Flame Blessed Bolt the Pyromancer, and don't give them the ability to exile it to make 1/1s from the graveyard. I can play Hero, down tick on Pyromancer, but then we die to the Ramunap Ruins plus the 1/1. Oh, or we could just draw Lightning Helix. That works. Okay, so I could play Hero and uptick and Lightning Helix. I think that's unnecessarily risky. I could steal the 1/1 to block the Pyromancer. There's not much way around the fact that this is going to be kind of bad for me if I try to Lightning. Eventually they're going to make 1/1s with the Pyromancer, and that's going to be a problem. I think I'm not supposed to take any damage here at all, to minimize how bad the Seasoned Pyromancer tokens are for me in the long run. Which means I think I'm on Helixing this Pyromancer. Oh, game? Coco. Okay, well that's also painful. I guess this rewards my decision making, but that means I'm not killing the Elemental token. Oh, I didn't get priority there? Okay, sure. I don't think I can actually kill this Pyromancer. I guess I'm just killing the 1/1 token and then going to 4, down-ticking Hero of Dominaria on Pyromancer. Okay, so every time they use the emote, the game, like, completely freezes. That's not stellar. Okay, Hero of Dominaria. Get rid of Pyromancer. If they top decked another Coco, I'm in trouble. Hopefully that's just Ruins. I'm also in trouble if they top deck another Ruins. Can't do much about that. Harmonic Prodigy. Okay, that doesn't matter. Land doesn't matter. Lightning Helix is a great draw. Yay! Keep up the pace. Alright. I don't think I want to Lightning Helix this Harmonic Prodigy just now if I don't have to. We're going to bounce it and draw a card. Commit? Wow, deck. That's so kind of you. Technically not Lightning Helixing makes it awkward to have to play around a Ramunap Ruins if they wind up playing it. Wow, Collected Company, that'd be really bad for me if that resolved. I'm glad it didn't. More heroes, huh? Alright, well, let's turn that into more cards instead. Land not super useful. So here, yeah, the opponent's going to get one set of Seasoned Pyromancer triggers, which draws them 2 cards, which isn't terribly kind. Do you think Golgari Food is a decent choice still? I think the current metagame is not very friendly to Golgari Food. The reason I think for that is that there's not a huge number of creature decks that are just trying to be fair aggressive decks. And I think that's what Golgari Food most preys on. I think that, if I had to guess, I think a lot of the decks that it really wants to prey on are getting kind of pushed out by the control decks. Alright, let's go with Cycle Triome. Divine Purge the Pyromancer, huh? Interesting. Normally I wouldn't like that, but I do kind of like that with Time Raveler. Am I supposed to downtick on this Pyromancer? They hit it off the Collected Company and Sorcery Speed, which I don't love. I think the answer to that's probably no. I think going to 3 is probably acceptable-ish, given that I have 2 Planeswalkers in play. How many languages do I speak? Pretty much just one. Faceless Agent, huh? Interesting. Okay. And doing it pre-combat? Curious. Alright, in that case, I feel like I'm probably pretty comfortable Divine Purging here. I could also just go to 3 in memory, but probably not supposed to. Alright. Takes 8 loyalty to Ultimate Teferi. Has that always been the case? Alright, let's bounce an Archomancer, tax our opponent's mana, draw a card, draw a board wipe. That's not bad. Draw some cards. It's a land. Okay, use our mana before we untap. Ooh, radical. Alright. Well, the Narset's really interesting with the memory, isn't it? But the Archmage's Charm is really interesting with the fact that we're already winning on board, and countering that Collected Company would be fun. I guess I've already used every Lightning Helix in my deck. Maybe I'm supposed to play around them top decking more Ramunap Ruins. Would have taken Charm plus Narset. Yeah, that might be better. I might not need the Flame Blessed Bolt at all, given that I've got Divine Purge anyway. I think I agree with that. Alright, well, let's Memory Deluge. Let's take a Memory Deluge and an untapped land. I don't think I need more cards at this point. I think I just want more mana, mostly. Uptick Time Raveler. Uptick Hero. Play Hull. Flame Blessed Bolt the Anarchomancer. Don't want my opponent having any kind of nasty little mana efficiency going on. Untap the Hull to block the Faceless Agent. Next turn we get to Ultimate Teferi and then draw 2 with Archmage's Charm. That should be fun. Divine Purge. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that Divine Purge exiles my Hull here if I play it at the end of turn, but I guess I'm probably just going to Memory Deluge at the end of turn, realistically. Even if you get an emblem, it takes a while for it to permanently get the opponent under 4 mana. Well, I mean, that's true, but they're not going to be able to do, like, Collected Company at the end of our turn because we have the other Teferi in play. So I'm probably going to wind up Divine Purging my opponent's end of turn to clear their board, and then immediately removing 3 of their land to leave them with 2. Which I think probably will be good enough. Elvish Visionary, sure. Well, I guess if they make the land drop here, yeah. Ooh, Remnant Ruins hurts. Yeah, alright. Go it is. I will be sad about losing the Hall. Oh, so I can just replay the Hall from exile, huh? Is that how that works? I think that's how that works. That is how that works. Alright, that actually... I mean, it's annoying, but certainly not the end of the world. Alright, so let's play a Teferi. Let's uptick Teferi. Let's get rid of that nasty Ramanap Ruins before it hurts us. Let's draw 2 cards. Let's get rid of both of those inconvenient green sources. Uptick Teferi. Oh, hey, cool, the opponent's done. Well, turns out all we had to do was draw every Lightning Helix, and it was easy. Let's see. Well, I feel like 4 Aether Gust and 2 Flame Blessed Bolts and at least 1 Anger of the Gods is probably good. Shark Typhoon probably less good. Narset probably not terribly important. Interestingly, Time Raveler actually wound up being better than expected with the Divine Purges. Maybe instant speed board wipes are actually good. I can probably get rid of the commit. I can probably get rid of the Memory Deluge too. I do kind of want the Memory Deluge. Yeah, we have like infinity card advantage. We don't need more. That hurts to say. What I just said was a lie. Don't believe that. Alright, not totally stellar, but alright. I suppose not having any 1-drop white removal makes it a lot easier to decide what lands to play on turn 1. And I just want to play Steam Vents. Or Raugrin Triome if we top deck that. That works good too. No green mana for our opponent, but a Harmonic Prodigy that is slightly hard to remove. Does this sequencing matter? I think I would like to Anger of the Gods rather than Divine Purge if I top deck it. So this means that if I top deck an island next turn, I have to play the Glacial Fortress. I guess that doesn't matter. Alright. Opponent has Harmonic Prodigy into Burning Tree Emissary, into Seasoned Pyromancer. Yeah, with 2 mana floating. That's pretty good. Divine Purge not exciting here. Well, the opponent looted through a huge amount of lands, but didn't actually have a particularly scary follow-up. So they still have like a billion cards, but they did not hurt us horrifically. Ooh, then they top deck the Burning Tree Emissary the turn after. Oh, good for me. So they missed a land drop, but they did just search a creature type. I'm a little worried that if I play Time Raveler and uptick, that the opponent's just going to Rage Forger and kill it. I guess that's actually okay, because then I get to Divine Purge with the Rage Forger in play. And yeah, I lost 2 life on playing the Hallowed Fountain, but I mean, I'm exiling a lot of creatures. Yeah, there's the Rage Forger. They did find it. He's a bummer. Oh, it's target? It doesn't have to be what that creature was attacking? That sucks. So I do take 2 more damage than I would like to. So Expressive Iteration here, if I hit a untap land, I get a 2-for-1, or if I hit a Divine Purge, I get a 2-for-1. Ideally, I hit untapped Red Source plus Anger, but that's not hugely likely. We do hit an untapped White Source, and we get to put Flameblessed Bolt in hand. So I suppose that will have to work. Yeah, I don't think I can let this sit on board and hit me here. But golly, the opponent has so many cards, and I am so desperately in need of Teferi resolving to save me. Okay. Teferi uptick. And finds Aether Gust. Alright, well, that's good. Let's untap some lands and get rid of the Anarchomancer. No mana discounts for the opponent. We not about that life. Harmonic Prodigy. I would extremely like that to be disruptioned. Okay, I think we've stabilized from here. Hero takes a little bit of poke. That's alright. Land drop. I'm assuming I'm supposed to Aether Gust the Burning Tree Emissary in the interest of protecting my Teferi's loyalty. You did not want to put that on top of your deck, opponent, because that still costs 4 mana if you draw it again. That Perpetual still sticks around. The cards don't really matter because of how much they cost. Yeah, maybe? I don't know. I'm not totally sold that that's true. But in this matchup with my opponent missing land drops, I believe it's true. Auras, I think, is kind of a different story. They tend to be capable of making land drops regularly. I can probably Archmage's Charm that and be fine. Oh, okay, we got there. There certainly are not a ton of cards that are as good at 2 more mana value than they are printed. Yeah, but it's important to note that the way that game played out, we had Hero in play. So the fact that our opponent had a bunch of cards didn't matter. But we have to bear in mind that we do need to actually be regaining card equity in some way, like every turn regularly, in order to not have it be that eventually the opponent just kills us with cards. If we don't draw Teferi and we don't draw Memory Deluge, there is a possibility that this exact same game just comes down to us running out of cards while the opponent still has 7 cards in hand. Divine Purge is great tempo, and if we have something like Teferi to offset that, then tempo is great and tempo is all we need. Whereas Anger of the Gods, exiling all of those cards and exiling all the other cards would have left the opponent with like 2 cards in hand, and we would win that game whether or not we drew Hero. So Divine Purge is a game plan that's functional. It just... What's the right way to describe this? It's a lot less redundant than board wipes that can actually be card advantage. which means I don't want to make the mistake of treating Divine Purge exactly like I would treat every other board wipe. It's a very different style of card, and I'm trying to keep that in mind. Alrighty, we will take the play. I think I'd be tempted to keep this if I was on the draw. This is kind of exactly what I meant about a hand that can have like 2 lands and not care because it's got a redundant game plan of, oh, I'm just going to play a bunch of removal and then card advantage. I feel like I'd refer to that concept more as flexibility. So, sort of, because Wrath of God, flexibility does cause that to happen, but it's not necessarily totally lockstep concepts, because think of Wrath of God. It's a card that is redundant from a deck building standpoint in the sense that it fills multiple roles, but it's not what people would describe as flexible because it only does one thing. It board wipes. That's it. So I guess that it would not be wrong to call it flexible, but I think that it would mislead most people to do so. Alright, if my opponent's on a Jeskai deck, then I want to make my land drop here. Alright, and we are making our land drops. That's helpful. Even then, I would argue Wrath does 2 things. I agree that Wrath does do 2 things. I just think that flexible is a word that tends to be associated with the idea of, like, modality in Magic, and that's not quite what it means. So if I told somebody that they should... I hate the fact that they have a treasure here because they're representing Aether, and I can't just jam this Memory Deluge. But so if I told somebody that they needed their cards to be flexible when building a deck, or to keep in mind how their cards are flexible, it's not a word that carries as intuitive a meaning, or rather can be misleading in sense of how intuitive it is because it's got baggage associated with the idea of modality. I want to take this to Fairy, but I need land drops. Boo. Amusingly, I could actually Divine Purge away this treasure here. I think I'm in trouble. I mean, not just because I mulliganed against a control deck, but... Yuck. But also because my hand is pretty bad. Alright, opponent, you got it. Destroys all creatures, thing 1. They can't be regenerated, thing 2. Sure. Alright, I probably get Torrential Gearhulk here and then I lose. Yeah. Yeah, that probably was going to happen. It's too bad Divine Purge doesn't exile Torrential Gearhulk. Yeah, I guess I got no choice but to Day of Judgment here. Which sucks. And then we hope the opponent doesn't have a Aether. Opponent has a Aether. Not a lovely string of events. In the sense that most of these events have been the worst possible things. But I'm short a red source. I want to Lightning Helix the Aether, but I can't really risk doing that. Get blown out by a counterspell. Are you at 5? You are. Interesting. Alright. Well, at least I'm going to get less blown out by a removal spell, or, well, a counter spell here. Alright, I don't see the need to let my opponent counterspell me on my turn with their extra mana here. Okay, opponent opening has provided. Would like to kill the Aether and kill the Aether with Flameless Bolt or Lightning Helix. Does that make a difference? I guess it does. Narset is actually a reason that I care about Lightning Helix doing 3 damage instead of 2. Do we not have any cards with Regenerate on Arena? I know we didn't for a very long time. I don't know if we got Regenerate at any point with any of the new supplemental sets. Memory won't bring back that Teferi, that is true. Hey, look. I'm being rewarded for my decision to hold on to this Lightning Helix. That's fun. I probably should still do this at their end of turn. Or, well, beginning of turn. At some point I can Divine Purge to remove a treasure, but I don't think that point is now. Lightning Helix. Commit to Memory. Alright, so I think I play this tapped. That's to the opponent's turn. Lightning Helix the Narset. Okay. Expressive Iteration makes me sad. Well, I'm definitely still getting absolutely blown out on card advantage, but at least I'm not dead yet somehow. Oh, alright. Archmage's Charm is kind of spicy. I don't have enough mana to Memory Deluge plus Archmage's Charm, but I guess I can Memory Deluge at the end of their turn regardless. Gear Hulk, huh? Yeah, letting them have Magma Opus probably isn't good for me, unfortunately. I don't actually want to commit that because that's a nasty card for them to get to redraw. Instant speed threats are very good in control mirrors, so I think I have to just counter that straight up. Yeah. More card draw for the opponent. I really have to hope they have a lot of dead cards right now. I could try jamming Teferi. Don't think I'm supposed to. Well, if they're resorting to Lightning Helixing my face, I would say that is probably a good sign on the holding back on playing Teferi was a good idea front. Opponent, no! Your hand size isn't an issue! You don't need to Lightning Helix my face! Save it for Planeswalkers! I'd much rather Regenerate over Protection from a color. Those cards are miserable IMO. They generally replaced Regenerate with just Indestructible until end of turn, which I tend to think is a good call to have made. It just plays a lot more intuitively, and as far as like gameplay decision making is concerned, accomplishes all the same things. Five, 2, 2. On the off chance they like somehow Dovin's Veto my Teferi, having held a Dovin's Veto the entire game, I still want to have Jwari or Archmage's Charm up through Jwari Disruption here. But they don't. They have Archmage's Charm, huh? Okay, I think that's probably worth counterspelling. Ooh, more Teferis. Cool. Alright. So, I'm not in a great spot if they Narset. In fact, I'm in a pretty terrible spot if they Narset, because they get to Narset into Teferi. Bet you wish you had those Lightning Helixes right about now, huh, Bonnet? That's mean of me. They do. Alright. Well. Yeah, I don't think I get to beat that. Opponent? Opponent that's not lethal. Opponent, why are you trying to go face instead of killing the Teferi here? Maybe they have the other one? Maybe they're trying to find the other one? Okay, they found the fourth one. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But not surprising after having a pretty bad opener. We to play Dovin's Vetoes, Shark Typhoon, Mystical Dispute, cut a lot of the removal, cut the board wipes. And then debate what to bring in. Still have to handle playing against Torrential Girolk, which continues to be a very powerful package to have in the mirror. Unfortunately for me, I still am of the opinion that's not good enough against the aggro decks that exist right now to be justifiably main deck, even if I do love having it in control mirrors. And I think it just has to be Helixes. That's probably the best bet. How does this deck deal with Nezahal? Not easily, but Nezahal has become a lot less common as a card in general because it's kind of just useless against blue-white Lotus Field. They have too many stifle effects, so it's pretty easy for them to just stifle the return trigger. But you basically have to have a Planeswalker advantage in play. So one thing you can do, if they resolve a Nezahal, you can just play a Narset and then start, like, bouncing the Nezahal, because now they're suddenly not drawing things from those triggers anymore. Much prefer the look of Kunio's straight blue-red Gearhulk Championship list over the Jeskai lists. It's not a bad spot for that to be right now, but it's hard to get enough card advantage without Teferi. And it's hard to have broad applicable removal without white. I don't like having Lightning Helix, but I like having all of the other cards that are in this hand. Okay, Veto's not terrible. Unfortunately, it's better with white sources, and it's better with lands. Alright. Opponent gives me an opening to draw 2 with Archmage's Charm. I will happily take it. We find lands. Alright, our position is great. Opponent Expressive Iterations, sure. We could also Expressive Iteration if we wanted to. I don't think I'm allowed to want to right now. I have too many cards in hand. I'm making land drops anyway. We are a little constrained on white sources, so I can't double Dovin's Veto. I could Memory Deluge this turn, but I don't think that's possible. Too many cards in hand. If the opponent does something here at the end of turn, I actually had to let it resolve because I couldn't hold up double Dovin's Veto. Alright. Opponent played a tap land. From here on out, if I tap out for Memory Deluge, they're going to Torrential Gearhulk to get back Magma Opus, which isn't acceptable. So I throw out this Memory Deluge, not because I'm actually expecting it to resolve, but because this is a turn where I can force a counterspell out of their hand, and I don't care if Deluge resolves. If it does resolve, I'm probably going to have to end up discarding a Lightning Helix to hand size. If it doesn't resolve, then I just throw out an Expressive Iteration and hope that I can hit lands. Luckily, we hit only lands, which is a great spot to be. Alright, now we're not discarding the hand size, which is lovely. It is worth Dovin's vetoing an Expressive Iteration to me. This is currently a card advantage fight. More Dovin's vetoes. Opponent does not have Gearhulk mana here, so I'm actually safe to play the Time Raveler. Not with the expectation that Time Raveler resolves, but rather with the expectation that it gets countered, and that it getting countered is fine. I could also jam the hero here instead. If I hit an untapped land, next turn I have 8 mana, which means I get to Time Raveler with double veto up. Probably doesn't matter because most of the opponent's counterspells are likely to be vetoes anyway. I think I throw out the hero. I think there's merit to Time Raveler costing less mana next turn. And he has per standard updates since like a week ago when he played it, been jamming it, and seems a little weak to the white-black X lessened X. Really? I wonder if those are changed. I felt like that matchup was pretty good. No, I haven't played standard since then, so I don't have any updates to it. But that'll be interesting to revisit. Narset, huh? Okay, well, we have a Lightning Helix, so I think I can let that resolve. And then Lightning Helix it. If they wind up countering my Lightning Helix, that's kind of annoying, but I don't think I can counter that and then let them resolve a hero. I think that's just too painful for me. They have a Mystical Dispute, sure, so they can Mystical Dispute the Lightning Helix, would be annoying. No, they let that resolve. Okay. We did not draw the untapped land here, which is kind of inconvenient. Alright, I think I play out my Time Raveler. If they dispute the Time Raveler... Ooh, they don't. Cool. I think I would have let them counter that with the dispute. I don't think I could afford to pay for the dispute there. Four, three, one... No, so I think I play the hero, and we see what they want to do in response. Well, whoa, okay. Opponent, you probably could have countered that with a dispute. I don't think I would have paid for it. Fry. Yeah, see, this is why Fry is not really an acceptable sideboard card. They got off very badly here. If you're going to play Fry, I'm pretty confident it's better to just play more counter spells, because then you don't end up getting 2-for-1. Fry is like, I want a card that helps me lose less in games I'm already losing, which I'd rather have cards that can keep me at parity if I'm at parity. I will put Narset in my hand and make a land drop. And then attempt to play a Narset. Bo3. Decline. Opponent has finally realized that Mystical Dispute is actually a counterspell that I have to let counter things. Any good blue-white Lotus deck list? There are good ones. I don't have any. Okay, Nezahal, which means I have to hope the opponent doesn't have a Dovin's Veto. Interesting that they decided to use space for that. I was kind of the opinion that it was not an acceptable use of sideboard space with blue-white Lotus Field being a deck. Okay, so if my opponent has or draws into Dovin's Veto, I probably lose here. If they don't have those things, I probably win here. I mean, I guess I have to deal with the Nezahal again eventually, but I'm kind of pulling ahead. Why let the dispute through? Because if the opponent has a Magma Opus or a Gearhulk to follow up, and I don't hold up Dovin's Veto, I kind of just lose, even with Narset on board. Alright. We're gonna draw some cards. Oh, they have 9 mana. I couldn't do this. I'm in trouble against Gearhulk now. I forgot to count the treasure. Luckily, it is just Opus. Okay. That's good. That's good. Commit for the Nezahal. That's kind of an ideal draw. You love to see it. 3/6 swing. Play land, untap 5 mana. Okay. That makes it worth swinging with the Hall. The opponent's shocked enough that this is lethal next turn, so now the opponent has to spend the rest of the game respecting all the Storm Giants lethal. I've used 1 Lightning Helix, there's 2 more, so that isn't relevant. Fry with the opponent drawing Nezahal next turn. 3/6/1. Commit does not hit Hall. Archmage's Charm doesn't hit Hall. Could commit the Fry. Forces them to trade with the Nezahal. Oh, no, it doesn't force them to trade with the Nezahal, does it? Oh, but they haven't... Right, okay, yeah. I think I do commit the Fry. Because I'm upticking the Teferi to 3, which will still be capable of downticking on Nezahal. And if they fire up Hall and attack Teferi, I kill them with Hall. They could have Gearhulk here. Magma Opus isn't good enough because I can Archmage's Charm the 4/4. But a very valiant attempt. Historic looks exciting, right? I love these mirror matchups so much. You could have vetoed the dispute and still had the other veto up, I think. That might be true. Maybe it was worth throwing away veto for that? I hadn't really considered that because it was throwing away resources, but it's not actually throwing away resources if it makes Narset resolve. I'm inclined to agree. I think I probably should have done that then. So Nezahal is really annoying in the sense that it actually forces me to be proactive and try to end the game a little sooner. which unfortunately is the exact opposite of what you want to do against a deck that's playing a bunch of Magma Opuses and Gear Hulks, where you have to be very cautious about not giving them any openings. Opponent has a deck that is very much exactly the way I would build Jeskai if I wanted to beat other control decks right now, with the exception of, I think Frye is wrong. And Nezahal is... It's not wrong, it's just anticipating that you're not going to play against Lotus Field. I think that ends up meaning that I kind of need to play Wraths in the deck, which I'm really not excited about, but kind of have to. Yeah, Deck and Stone tends to be a replacement for Lightning Helix and Flame Blessed Bolt. I don't know that it is an improvement. We drew the one Lightning Helix, huh? I guess that is better than Wrath to have at the beginning of the game. Alright, well, Shark Typhoon is sort of a plan. Okay, opponent. Okay. I think I just have to super aggressively start cycling these Shark Typhoons early to begin pressuring my opponent's life total. Ew. Apparently also to try to help hit land drops. Okay, no Magma Opuses yet. That's nice. Let's try to hit land drops. Yep, Wrath of God's bad. Okay, land drop. Thank you, Shark Typhoons, for accomplishing things. Justice Strike. Oh. Huh. Yeah, okay. So you think I'm boarding into Nezahal then? Okay, well, we get to play Narset. Opponent has to have Veto. They do. Okay. Land drop for opponent into Narset, huh? So I think I just dispute this. They can't pay for it. I mean, they physically can, but it would be a huge mistake if they did. Do I want to trade in Dispute to draw a card with Teferi? Yeah, probably. We draw Dovin's Veto. That's like the best possible thing. Yay. So they could have Frye here, I suppose, might be their plan. We do miss the land drop even after enabling the draw with Teferi, though. That kind of hurts. It does put us behind on a lot of resources, but we're not very concerned about Nezahal here. Graveyard Hate now worth versus the Mizzix decks? No, because most of the Graveyard Hate against Mizzix... For one, they board out of Mizzix's Mastery, generally. It just doesn't do enough in Control Mirrors. For two, going down a card and tapping out at sorcery speed for answers to graveyards, just... That isn't the type of resource this matchup is generally about. I do think I wind up playing the Narset. Archmage's Charm. I feel like I'm probably okay with that. Then again, having Narset in play would be pretty strong. There's still a pretty good chance they counter this anyway, but I might not care. They're on low resources, so if they have to spend another counterspell on the Narset, that's not actually terrible for me. Ooh, but they don't have another counterspell. Radical. And Narset rebuys another counterspell. I do want to hurt their life total. It actually matters a lot with Hall of the Storm Giants potentially being a way that I clock them to lethal here. I don't... If they cycle a Shark Typhoon for 2, it's not killing Narset, so I guess it's okay to attack. I guess they cycle Shark Typhoon for 2 and then block my Shark, so it actually maybe wasn't right. Yeah? Okay. Oh! Well, I guess we got there. Yeah, I feel like the opponent was supposed to let the Narset get countered by the first Mystical Dispute. I think that, especially if they didn't have a follow-up to it, giving me an opening to play A-Teferi is hard. I mean, I guess from their perspective, maybe they just didn't have anything in hand and were desperate to get the card advantage off Narset, but a lot of control matchups do come down to bluffing that you have interaction and just forcing your opponent to not do anything out of fear of your hand of nothing, and then hope you top deck into something before they do. Hard to say no to this hand, given that it has Flame Blast Bolt into Expressive Iteration, even if it doesn't have Expressive Iteration until turn 3. I guess that's when you want Expressive Iteration, so not too much of a concern. Alright. Well, green-black food, huh? Directly into Trail of Crumbs, huh? This would qualify as a concern, yes. Alright, so we play our Deserted Beach. I want the opponent to make their choice with Gilded Goose here before they know that the Gilded Goose is dying and setting the upkeep stop. And then we will bolt the goose. But opponent still has a Trail of Crumbs, which continues to, as always, make me sad. I've been trying to think about how to approach these matchups against the green-black food decks, specifically because it's kind of interesting the way in which they don't necessarily have a huge number of threats. And that potentially, if I'm more careful about how I use my removal spells, I can take advantage of that. Like, Witch's Oven is a threat, but I could steal that with Archmage's Charm if I wanted to. The question is mostly, am I supposed to want to? I don't know. I could also Expressive Iteration here, but I don't think I'm supposed to Expressive Iteration earlier than I have to. I could jam Narset, but that sounds worse than just leaving up Archmage's Charm. Almost want to make lots of food. No cat yet, so no easy sack outlet for the food. Unknown card to hand. Is there any, like, watermarking on the card they get from Cursebound Witch that would differentiate it from an oven that came from the deck? Well, this card, at least, I know came from Cursebound Witch. Alright, when that dies, I discard a card, so we're going to steal their oven. Does it have the A22 set symbol, even if it's one of the cards that... Okay, yes, it does have the A22 set symbol, even if it's like a Cauldron Familiar. That's good to know. That's good to know. Gilded Goose. No. Opponent, that's good. Alright, I have to make a land drop here. Can't afford to not make a land drop. We are failing to make a land drop. But Divine Purge to exile a bunch of food tokens could be powerful, and at least Flame Blessed Bolt. Oh, which of these am I supposed to Flame Blessed Bolt? I probably don't care enough about discarding a card at random to hit the Black Cat. I think I'm supposed to hit the Goose to deny them food production. Especially because if I Divine Purge, I don't want them to be able to replay a Goose off of it. Crack food. Draw a card. Trail of... No, another Goose. Okay, come on, deck. Give me a white source here so I can Divine Purge away all of those lands. Or all of those artifacts. No. I don't think I said please give me a Divine Purge. I think I said give me a white source so I can Divine Purge. I think I would remember to be specific about it this time around. Yeah. Alright. Expressive Iteration. Land drop missed. I mean, the opponent isn't killing us, so maybe we have time to manage this. But opponent draws cards very efficiently now that they have a food sack outlet. Finds another trail. Yep. Oh, really? Fires up Hive to kill the Narset even though I've already got the Expressive Iteration. That's surprising. Okay, works for me. White source, yay! Do I bother Divine Purging here? Expressive Iteration to set up a hero next turn is kind of tempting. Divine Purge does get rid of the Goose. Alternatively, I could Expressive Iteration, land drop, Lightning Helix Goose. Puts the Goose in the graveyard for the Lurrus. Maybe I don't care about that. I think I'm probably not supposed to care about that. Yowzers. Alright, happy to have those gone. What card do we put in hand? Probably not more Divine Purge? Maybe more Divine Purge. I don't know, maybe that's actually good? I don't know, let's test it. I don't think there's any way the opponent fires up Hive here. I think I'm just not supposed to let them have the mana efficiency to sack food to Goose. Favonius. If you want to take or have me take a look at a deck list, if you could help me out, go ahead and export it from Arena and put it onto like Pastebin or MTG Goldfish or somewhere. And then help me remember to take a look at it after... What's the word I'm looking for here? After this game, or right before this match is over. Otherwise I'll forget 100% of the time. Hey Chris, never got to pop in because I'm usually sleeping now, but just wanted to say I follow a bunch of your content and it's awesome. Hope you're having a good stream and a good night. Aw, thanks Scotty. I appreciate it. Somehow we're still missing land drops, but at least we have Divine Purges for days. So they could sack a cat to get a trail of... I guess to get 2 Trail of Crumbs triggers. But then the cat actually gets exiled. Yeah, it's probably worth 2 Trail of Crumbs triggers to get the cat exiled, honestly. Purge here isn't bad. Oh no, cat. Discards a Purge. What were the odds? So now cat to get 1 trail trigger? I feel like that was actually actively not worth it for them. Compared to just getting 2 trail triggers. What do I know? I guess they wouldn't have had anything to sacrifice to the Deadly Dispute. Maybe that warrants getting it out of their hand. Oh, they get to replay the Witch's Oven? I see. Okay, that's actually very bad then, and not a good synergy at all. That sucks. I don't think... Maybe that meant I was supposed to Archmage's Charm to draw 2 instead? I'd like them to go like untap land, Witch's Oven, and then I just untap land, draw, play Teferi, uptick. That would be the best. Alright. Nope. Not today. Alright, well, more Divine Purges then. Opponent gets to sack cat, then doesn't bring cat back, probably, but at least the ovens cost more mana now, but they have like infinity mana. Yeah, the fact that I'm not recovering any card advantage here from these Divine Purges hurts a lot, so I'm kind of falling very far behind even though I'm not making land drops. Kinda just losing, that's not good. Oh, Divine Purge making Witch's Ovens come into play tapped is actually at least sort of nice. Phyrexian Tower being a sack outlet for that Cauldron Familiar, less nice. Am I supposed to Wrath of God here to get rid of the Gilded Goose? Opponent just gets to put Lurrus in hand eventually, and that's going to be miserable. I could Narset. I've already used both Flame Blast Bolts, I believe. Yeah. Wow, I cast 2 Expressive Iterations this game. Yeah, I think it's gotta be Wrath here. If I Divine Purge, they just replay Goose after sacking Cauldron Familiar, and that's pretty terrible. I expect they just play Valentin, sack it to Oven, play the other Oven? Maybe they play Lurrus? Yeah, I feel like a very significant portion of this game has been injured by me trying to steal Oven with Charm, not realizing that that was not a permanent answer to Oven. Those 2 lacking resources are a pretty big difference here. That's annoying. So I finally managed to resolve Teferi, but if I down ticket, the Teferi just dies to Hive anyway. I think I have to uptick and hope that I draw an untapped land.
Keep up the pace.
Okay. Successfully drew a land at last. So now I can cycle Shark Typhoon for 1 to block the Lisette. Hope the opponent doesn't have a removal spell, which is admittedly kind of... Oh, those gain trample. That's hard. Okay, so I have to hope the opponent somehow misses that they can give Lisette trample when I try to block it with a 1/1 shark, and that they don't have removal spells. Hey, Favonius. Thanks for the sub. I appreciate the support. Squirrel. Okay. That's sort of a bummer. Going at face. How lethal is it, opponent? I like this better when it was less lethal. Alright, well, I can't really do anything about this. I could try to chump block, but I mostly just get blown out if I do that. I think I need to use Archmage's Charm to draw 2. We sacked the Hive. Okay. Yeah, some Trail of Crumbs triggers. Sure. More ovens. Yeah, that's horrible for me. This is all true. I would like to draw cards, because I'm going to have to Divine Purge anyway. I guess we start with Divine Purge, and then Narset. Wish you had Portable Holes. This is a matchup where having Portable Holes is probably generally better than Divine Purge, but I'm actually not totally convinced that's true. Divine Purge could still be good here, but it's important to remember that a lot of this game has developed in a way that looks bad because I messed up with the Archmage's Charm earlier. It would be pretty different if I had drawn 2, because most of our bad position is that the Divine Purges aren't being very effective when we were stuck on 3 lands for the entire game. Sometimes that is less likely to be the case. I think they actually probably should have sacked Ravenous Squirrel there. Well, no, I guess they want the Cauldron Familiar in the graveyard, don't they? But would have made it... Oh, it doesn't matter if it makes an additional food token because the food tokens go away. Yeah, alright, that's fair. Never mind. I forget how the card I just cast works. Alright, there's a Memory Deluge. Opponent has a 7 mana. Witch's Oven. Divine Purge feels good against this deck when they have a lot of food in play. Yeah, but less good when they have Witch's Ovens they keep replaying that I can't do anything about. I kind of hope the opponent Mortality Spears my Narset here, because it potentially sets up a spot where they can't Mortality Spear a hard cast Shark Typhoon. Bone Shards, eh? Discarding what? Fatal Push. Sure. And a Squirrel. And an Oven. Right. Cauldron Familiar is in the graveyard, as near as I can tell. So we could hard cast Shark Typhoon and then cast Expressive Iteration for a 2/2 to block. Means I die to a removal spell. That seems pretty likely to happen. So I don't think we can justify that. Teferi, eh? The Ravenous Squirrel's are currently tapped, so stealing that isn't really acceptable. Wait, was I supposed to steal the squirrel and then Shark Typhoon for 1 to block the Lisette? That might have been what I was supposed to do. No, they're probably gaining enough life and draining enough that they can Lisette for lethal with Trample anyway. I think I got a down tick on the Lisette and hope that they don't have the ability to lethal me with Squirrel, which they might not. It's kind of complicated. They have like infinity mana, but also a bunch of their cards cost a lot of mana. Yeah, Trail of Crumbs is horrible for me. Extremely bad. Yep, that's 1. So it puts me to 6. Sack Squirrel. Put up to 3. Sack. Yeah, that's probably lethal. But they should probably stop paying for Trail of Crumbs triggers at this point. Isn't mana their big concern? Yeah, they figured that out. Meat Hook for 0? Yeah. Down to 5. Sack. Up to 3. 1/1. Yep. That's lethal. More than lethal, really. Down to 2. And up to 5. Yeah, so overkill by a lot. Womp, womp, womp. Yeah, very hard for us to actually begin getting any kind of meaningful advantage. There were a lot of opportunities we had there to like play a Teferi while the opponent was on the back foot, but about when they played the Lisette was when we just couldn't overcome the innate mana disadvantage we were experiencing at that point. Alright, we want 4 Aether Gust. I'm pretty confident in that. Do I want more Flame Blessed Bolts? Probably. Do I not want Wraths? I mean, I don't actually think so. I probably don't want Teferi. I can't see that being good. I do probably want Commit. That feels like a win con. That's important. How much do I want Lightning Helixes? I don't dislike Lightning Helix necessarily, but I don't think it's stellar. I like the life gain element, but I kind of wonder if Flame Blessed Bolt is better than Lightning Helix. Narrower window to answer things, but actually exiling things is cool. Relevant against Luris and occasionally relevant against cats. Yeah, alright. That's probably an upgrade. Could play Anger of the Gods? That's probably too narrow. Alright, let's actually make some land drops this time and see how that goes. Take the play. Okay, well, we can cycle a Shark Typhoon. Did I bring in the other 2 Shark Typhoons? I kind of feel like I probably should have. I don't recall. I suspect I probably didn't. I did not. Alright, well, I think I probably want to cycle Shark Typhoon here. Yeah, I think I gotta cycle Shark Typhoon here in response, otherwise they're going to take it and try to hurt me on lands. Sweet. We do find lands. Unfortunately, it's a Plains, so we're not capable of casting an Archmage's Charm to draw more cards with it. Despite that, I wonder if Archmage's Charm is still the correct take for them. That might be the scariest card for them to deal with if they have a slow start that's playing Thoughtseizes on turn 2 instead of advantage. I guess maybe you take Flame Blast Bolt if you have a Gilded Goose here. Divine Purge. Okay. I could certainly see that entirely being correct. Alright, we get to hold up Archmage's Charm. Wonderful top deck. Love to see it. Would prefer to not have to counter anything. Would prefer to draw 2. It's probably a sentence that can be applied to every turn. Outland Liberator. I imagine I'm probably just going to wind up Flame Blast bolting that. More O1s. So many O1s. I wonder if Outland Liberator is as a way to deal with... what's the name of that card? Portable Hole? Though I can't be playing Portable Hole because of the Divine Purges. I wonder if some decks try to do both. Alright, I'm going to give them a food token here, but if I don't, then it's going to turn to night, and this is a 3-3, and I can't kill it. Oh, also rest in peace. Yeah, that makes sense. Do any cards from Kamigawa have me excited? So I haven't been looking at the spoilers too close. I've just been following, like, random Twitter threads. Because this weekend, I want to do a set review of the whole thing, and then put that all up on YouTube. Which I assume is probably going to wind up being like an 8-hour task over the weekend. Yeah. I don't want my opponent to have a trail of crumbs, but I also don't want to not draw 2. Alright, we'll counter it. No, they had a trail of crumbs. Who could have seen this coming? I would like to play Aether and hope they don't have an answer. It's probably a noxious grasp, though. Maybe it's Mortality Spear. That'd be cool. Could also be Bone Shards. Oh, that's just a squirrel. Sweet. Okay. Then the Bone Shards afterwards. Put the counter on the squirrel. Makes sense, makes sense. Okay, so if I try to Flame Blast Bolt the squirrel, they end up sacking to eat the food, and then sack the plant to Witch's Oven, which gets the squirrel to be a 3-3. I wonder if I'm actually supposed to play like some number of Dovin's Vetoes against them, come to think of it. I think that's actually a worthwhile use of Flame Blast Bolt. I get them tapped out and they lose a food. With the Trail of Crumbs in play, them losing a food is meaningful to me. I'm still kind of just hoping to top deck card advantage, but I kind of just need to top deck card advantage. From their perspective, I could also have Divine Purge here, which would make sacking a bunch of stuff at sorcery speed to bump the squirrel kind of unfulfilling. Yeah, they do take that line. They miss on the Trail of Crumbs trigger. My Teferi dies. Extremely sad. So you're saying I got nothing. Okay. Well... that's pretty bad. If I Aether Gust the squirrel, they put it on top, they play it, they sack a food token to the squirrel and draw a card off Trail of Crumbs. Ah, why does everything suck? Yeah, I got like no options here that are palatable. Well, this time around I kind of think we round up in pretty much the opposite problem of the last time, which is to say that it's not good to have nothing. Alright, we'll Aether Gust a squirrel. They could choose to sack the squirrel. I don't think they want to. Goose. Yay. Okay, well, Narset's a magic card. Don't hate that. We do still have the potential to out-resource the opponent here, maybe. Ugh. Maybe. Not really. Aether Gust is much more palatable when they don't have a Trail of Crumbs in play. Maybe I really do need some mixture of Aether Gusts and Dovin's Vetoes. Squirrel. Sure. Do you ever gust the trail? Sometimes. Like, a lot of the times on the stack, gusting the trail is the correct thing to do. But gusting the trail in this spot just has them do all of their card draw in response and doesn't really accomplish much. And if I gust the trail on my turn, then it just goes back on top, draws the squirrel anyway, rebuys the ETB. Not terribly helpful. Now, here we're going to hit the squirrel with an Aether Gust. There's an Narset in play, so they can't sack anything to it to draw at the current moment. And it prevents them from attacking the Narset for one extra turn. I'm kind of surprised they used the squirrel to draw a card. Or I'm kind of surprised they used the squirrel to sack a food. They have more mana than food at the moment, so I would have expected they would sack the food manually, make a food with the goose. But, maybe there's something I'm missing. Yup, sacks the food, draws the squirrel. Would love to find a removal spell for that goose. Mortality, Spear. That's unfortunate. Drawing lands, not good. Alright, well, let's try to kill the opponent, I guess. Is somehow the game plan. Food token created. Bad for me. Enough mana to play squirrel, sack food, draw 2. That's bad. Squirrel bigger. Opponent draw a card. Opponent find creature. That's also bad. Well, at least Jwari Disruption isn't a land. That's nice. Thankfully, my opponent's really light on land, so this Jwari Disruption is going to be extremely impactful. The part where we sided out all of the burn means that getting my opponent's life total even, like, pretend low with all the Storm Giants, not really anything at all. Alright, well, let's represent blocking the Ravenous Squirrel with the Hall of the Storm Giants, I suppose. Colony Garden, not exciting, gives the opponent something to sacrifice. Opponent chooses to sacrifice it to the Witch's Oven, makes a food token. Not great. Sacks food token to Squirrel, not great. I guess the good news is that Divine Purge wouldn't be useful in this spot anyway, so it's nice that we haven't drawn it. Trail of Crumbs, that's good. Yeah. Kind of just not doing anything here. Well, there's Divine Purge. Don't feel like that matters very much, but there it is. Well, I guess we're doing it, though. No real palatable alternatives. But I would define that as pretty bad here. Yep. My life total is not being pressured, but that's kind of irrelevant, because the only thing that matters is card advantage, and we are not winning on that front. Cave Dan MTG, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Alright, more squirrels. Bigger squirrels. Yes. Yeah. Alright, well, I don't think we're getting there. What I need is a miracle? What I need is Memory Deluge, mostly. So Divine Purge didn't feel very relevant in that matchup. It, like, technically interacts with food tokens, but not terribly meaningfully. Dovin's Veto is probably the thing that's the most relevant that I think I was lacking. I think I'm supposed to try to set up instances where I can protect my planeswalkers from removal spells, and that's probably a boarding decision that I made incorrectly. Played too many answers to creatures and not enough answers to removal spells on my planeswalkers. I'm hesitant to actually judge the matchup as a result, because I kind of feel like that was more due to bad play than most other things. Alright, so this is like 1,000,000% Gruul. Yeah, just super straight Gruul attacky aggro. Alright. Well, we have Lightning Helix and Wrath of God. Coiling Vortex main deck. Wow, opponent going deep. Okay. Choose a creature type. Oh, I see. They gave Burning Tree haste. That's why it was going on. Huh. Wild. That's true. Could be mono red, yeah. Wait. Oh, it's a rogue. Oh, that's a cool creature type choice to have buffed Robber of the Rich. Alright, let's get an untapped land that doesn't cost any, hurty my facey. Nope, that's bad. In fact, I have my only planes in my deck. Alright, well, hurty my facey indeed. Unfortunately, those two cards in hand aren't lands, but maybe they cost more than 2 mana? Well, that's no fun. Well, that's no good. So if the opponent plays a 1-drop with haste, they play a 1-drop with haste that can sacrifice itself so I can't steal it with Archmage's Charm. Sweet. That just straight up beats me, doesn't it? since I can't steal it. I commit the Burning Tree, go to 2, Roiling Vortex puts me to 1. I don't have an answer that hits it. Well, I could top deck Lightning Helix, I guess. No, not really because of Roiling Vortex. Yep, Fanatical Firebrand, like, the best possible 1-drop to kill me here. Okay, but they don't attack with Fanatical Firebrand. That actually does give me a chance. So I take 1 damage here, go to 2. No, Helix isn't helpful. Kind of needed to hit a Painless Land to play Teferi. Well, drat. Okay, 1 damage here. Opponent attacks with Firebrand. Then I steal Firebrand with Charm. Opponent doesn't attack with Firebrand. Oh. No, yeah, that actually works. Shit. Yeah, I'm not seeing a way that I can get out of this with 1 red source. I feel like if I had hit an untapped land last turn... Yeah, there they are. 2 turns late. Well, no, not last turn. The turn before that. Okay, Flameless Bolts, Angers, Aether Gusts. Don't think we're interested in Divine Purge. Don't think we're interested in Time Raveler. Probably not interested in Shark Typhoon. Maybe we're interested in Shark Typhoon. Are we interested in Shark Typhoon over Memory Deluge? I don't think so. I think I just try to go as lean as possible. Helix to face doesn't do anything. They have an ability that they can spend 1 mana to prevent life gain. So we were still locked out. It's why the opponent tried so hard not to tap any mana. Alright, well, that was useless. This is... Alright. These aren't any good cards, but they are lands, and we do need those. Okay, Flameless Bolt. That's a card we can actually cast. Burning Tree Emissary with haste, sure. Into Robber of the Rich, sure, that seems familiar. We get to get rid of Robber of the Rich. Made a mistake. Should have played the Glacial Fortress instead of Sulfur Falls last turn. Now, if my Expressive Iteration hits a Flameless Bolt, I can't play the land from hand to cast it. Poor sequencing on my part, but luckily, we didn't hit anything helpful anyway. So that doesn't make a difference. The good news is we have most every expensive card in our deck in our hand already, so it's unlikely that we draw more from here. Expressive Iteration in Jeskai. Thought you didn't like the card, and I thought it wasn't worth playing in Jeskai. No, it's not particularly worth playing in Standard, or at least was in the context of pre-ban Standard. Jeez. Alright. I think that it's a much better card in Historic because you actually have a lot of playable 1-drops. And there are fewer things that punish you as hard for tapping out. You both have more playable 1-drops, and just the existence of Dovin's Veto makes Expressive Iteration a lot more playable, because you have less to be concerned about in terms of counterspell wars. You can always reliably counter 5-drop threats with Dovin's Veto in control mirrors. I think I do just have to use my mana efficiently here because of how much I'm looking for Wraths. Luckily I found Wraths. Unfortunately I had to throw all of them away. Torbran, they say. Yeah. With haste. Alright, well, that was like the worst possible set of draws I could ever imagine. That's not true. we could have not drawn any lands. And also drawn only 5 drops in our, like, mono 1 and 2 drop deck. Yuck. Was an iteration the best card printed last year? Galvanic? Yes. Expressive? Not quite. Expressive Iteration is a really interesting card because it is one of the most contextual cards they've printed in a long time. It is a card that's power level scales dramatically with the average mana cost of the cards in your deck, which means the older the format gets, the lower the curves get, the better Expressive Iteration is. By definition, Standard is probably the format where it's the weakest because it's the least reliable to get a 2-for-1. And for like the last 6 months, Standard Expressive Iteration decks were defined by the card Unexpected Windfall, where allowing your opponent to resolve Unexpected Windfall put you massively behind in the mirror, and having less mana to fight counterspell wars over game-ending combo turns was a huge liability, which meant Expressive Iteration just, the power level wasn't there to justify the opportunity cost of tapping down 2 mana at sorcery speed, so it just wasn't a good card in Standard. Not playing the Rakdos deck? No. If somebody redeems a take a look at a deck list, I tend not to play it. I usually try to have like a puzzle to solve during a stream, and at least tonight I really want to try to figure out if Divine Purge feels good in Jeskai or not. So that's where we're kind of focusing. Yeah. Alright, well, this should at least be educational about the strength of Divine Purge. I will say one thing I'm looking forward to playing Kamigawa is more of that blue tempo. Other than that, Kamigawa card seems kind of meh. Now I'm interested to see how it looks. I have yet to... Okay, well... I've yet to really dive deep into how competitive any of the cards seem. I think we're going to do that tomorrow. And it's probably going to be kind of a long thing. So my expectation is that Intangible Virtue is probably a card that is weak to Divine Purge. Considering that I'm about to purge away my own token, I might as well get it to make 2 life here. I'm gonna cycle this no matter what because I want to make a land drop. 2 life successfully gained! Yay! Wedding announcement! Draws a card! No! I mean, that's actually... Raise the Alarm into Wedding Announcement's kind of a cool synergy. If you want the token, you can even choose not to attack with one of the 2 tokens. Wait, Intangible Virtue gives Vigilance? For real? Since when? Huh. Okay. Didn't know that. Alright, let's Divine Purge. Why not? There's a possibility that that makes it so that I can play Teferi uptick holding up Lightning Helix and, you know, protect the Teferi. That'd be cool. How could they rebalance Wilderness Reclamation and not be unplayable? I've seen a lot of different suggestions. I'm not sure that I've seen any that strike me as making the card truly strong without being busted. Most seem to either not actually nerf the card as much as they think it is. Like, I've seen people suggest make it trigger on opponents' upkeeps instead of on your instep. And I think a lot of players underestimate how much that card is still completely busted. That's not actually a super significant nerf. Can't keep up Helix because of Paladin class. That's a good point. I hadn't paid attention to the fact that that had gotten played yet. So we're just going to Helix this now. My running assumption is that the best rebalance you can make to Wilderness Reclamation is one that isn't particularly flavorful. Oh. Protection? Don't want me to gain 3 life. I see. Why not? I think that if you make Wilderness Reclamation legendary, it's still a card you can play in a deck, probably play 4 of, and it would be good, but I don't think it would be busted at that point. You don't need to make it cost 1 more if it's legendary. It's balanced at 4 mana as a legendary card. Alright, wedding announcement no longer makes more tokens. Huzzah. Alright, well, I'm probably just going to Divine Purge away those tokens then. Well, that's awkward. Oh, Expressive Iteration, how come you're not a good card? Can't you just hit lands and actually be a 2-for-1? I mean, I suppose I could just cast Expressive Iteration and not board wipe away my opponent's tokens. Oh no, I can't even do that because I don't have a red source. Cool. Alright, well. Board wipes it is then. Sideboard Muse wording would solve that, would it? What's the exact wording on Sideboard Muse? Oh, interesting. Yeah, Sideboard Muse would stop it from stacking. I don't think you need to nerf it that much, though. But that is probably the cleanest way to do that. No, I think Sideboard Muse is too much of a nerf, because then you can never float mana. And I think that nerfs the card too much. I don't think it's playable at that point. The way that Seaborn Muse makes it so that it's functionally legendary, that's good. But I don't think you can stop it from stacking and have it be good. Guess I kind of have to downtick on this token here. Because if I uptick, there's a chance I just die to Paladin class. There is still a chance I just die to Paladin class if they have an instant speed way to make tokens here. Yeah, okay. Ooh, that'll kill me. So would your fix be to make a legendary? I think that... I don't love that that isn't, like, super flavorful, but of all of the suggestions I've seen, that's the nerf that succeeds most at making it actually nerf it to the point that it's in line with power level, but also not make such a small change that it's not actually nerfed. Would changing Nexus from instance to sorcery be enough of a nerf? Probably, but it wouldn't be a very interesting card at that point. I'd like to see a restriction on Nexus that just lets you put only one copy in a deck, which is never going to happen. But, like, Nexus of Fate is a really interesting card when there's only one copy of it in a deck. I've played a lot of decks with one Nexus as a way that allowed control to do interesting things in the late game, and I really seriously think that makes Magic more fun and makes control mirrors more fun. I think the decks with 4 Nexus of Fate do not make Magic more fun. Why your favorite color is blue in life, not in Magic? My favorite color in life is yellow. I got a very good reason for it. I decided that was my favorite color when I was like 5, because it's the color Pokemon turn when they evolve. I don't know why I decided that was what I was going to define my favorite color by, but I remain very aware that was why I chose it. Alright. No Flame Blessed Bolts, I don't think. I think I'm boarding in Dovin's Vetoes? What's the rest of this, though? Cutting, like, Shark Typhoons, maybe? I don't know. No yellow shirts. Shirts always blue. Yeah, I don't have a lot of yellow shirts. I have a lot of blue button-ups. I mean, I've got some yellow shirts, but yeah. Yellow is a hard card to, or hard card. Yellow is a hard color to build a wardrobe out of. Alright, keep it, I guess. I guess I probably go Hallowed Fountain, Sulfur Falls, then like probably try to play Jwari Disruption on 2, maybe Lightning Helix on 2 depending on what they play. Hope Expressive Iteration hits my 3rd land for me. Or we just hit the 3rd land naturally and don't bother. It's a possibility too. If the opponent does nothing here, I could Lightning Helix the 1/1. I feel like I'm not inclined to because I've already got the Divine Purge, though. I think that means that I just Expressive Iteration and try to get my card advantage here. I think I actually do care about Teferi against their deck. Restricting their access to instant speed tokens is probably going to be helpful. Kiki. I'm doing well, thanks. How are you? Dang, I'm so late for class. I've missed. How's Divine Purge been in the Jeskai deck? It's been okay, not excellent. There's been times that it seemed useful. There's been a lot of times where it seemed underwhelming. It's weird that I don't think that... It's hard to evaluate Divine Purge when so much of the cost is tied up in not running Portable Hole. Makes it tricky to evaluate the strength of the card itself. Alright, I guess I'm just going to play Teferi here. The opponent probably plays a instant speed token producer in response. And then I have to sit here and wonder, do I uptick Teferi? Do I downtick Teferi? I guess I have to downtick Teferi because I don't want Legion's Landing to flip, huh? Which does let them kill the Teferi, so it didn't ultimately accomplish much. Played Dungeon and Alchemy yesterday and lost so many games. Yeah, the buffs did not necessarily super help. I think you can maybe make a deck with Triumphant Adventurer and Nadar, but those are like the only 2 particularly playable adventure cards. Or not adventure, dungeon. Oh, what's the name of the mechanic where you explore the dungeon? It's not explore. It's not delve. Is it just called dungeon? Venture. Okay, there we go. Venture. Alright, well, let's Divine Purge here and then hold up Jwari Disruption, I guess. No! That's more instant speed tokens! How sad. I feel like I'm actually in trouble. I don't know how I stabilize this board state. I feel like I'm just gonna die to Castle Ardenvale and Adanto. I guess I could find a Shark Typhoon. That's probably my best bet. Yeah, okay, Showdown on the Skulls is scary. Pair of Goblins is actually a surprisingly good card. Huh. I've never actually read this before. It's not efficient, but it does fill a lot of roles in a tokens deck all at the same time. Oh, I wish I had enough mana to play Narset and Archmage's Charm in the 1-1, but I cannot. Okay, I guess I take Commit. I guess I take all the Storm Giants. I guess I steal this 1-1. Oh, I could steal Paladin class. Does that accomplish anything? Makes goblins more expensive on my turn. Nah, I'm probably supposed to steal the 1-1 though. What's the win con for this deck? Is it Shark Typhoon and Storm Giants? Trying to understand. Yeah, essentially. Let's pull up the list. So, Shark Typhoon and Storm Giants are the way you can actually kill your opponent, but generally speaking, if you succeed at just drawing enough cards where you answer everything the opponent has, your actual win con's irrelevant. Your opponent just gets locked out of the game. But it can also win with the Teferi emblem. You just exile all of your opponent's permanents. Yeah. I keep forgetting Divine Purge makes stealing my opponent's stuff bad. I really need to think more about that. If I had an untapped land here, I could Narset and then commit the Chandra. That'd actually be pretty good. Alright, I think we're Expressive Iterationing first. Stealing Paladin class is kind of nice, but it doesn't actually accomplish very much for us, is part of the problem. I think I take Steam Vents and then play the Narset with the expectation that I'm going to play the Raugrin Triome, and that gives me access to an untapped land next turn. Alright, so they can make something kind of big here, but I have one chump blocker. Do damage to us with Chandra. I don't think they have any particularly strong desire to kill Narset, other than that maybe they would like to prevent me from drawing cards. There will be a lot of blue-white control tomorrow. That is definitely the case. Nice. Retrieve socks. Alright. Did you hear him sneezing and pounding at the door? Fateful Absence. That's actually really good against my Divine Purge plan, huh?
I can see.
Ugh. How many spells did they cast? That's a lot of tokens. Goodness gracious. Alright, well. I do need to commit the Chandra, so unfortunately the clue token synergy with the Fateful Absence extremely effective. Yowzers. Puts me down to 2? No, they choose not to upgrade Paladin class. Interesting. Okay. Well, I suppose I'm not technically dead yet. Oh, I am dead if they level up Paladin class, I suppose. I like Divine Purge, but I don't think I can play it here. Because, amusingly, I actually have to shock. Okay, what if I shock Divine Purge and then Lightning Helix on their turn? Then they resolve the Chandra because I don't Dovin's Veto it. That's not acceptable. Alright. Opponent, I need you to play the Chandra instead of doing the other thing that kills me. Perfect. Now, Paladin class costs 5 to level up, so they can put me to 3. Oh, they go after the Narset. Oh, they want to deny me the memory? Yeah, maybe. I don't actually know whether that's correct or not. Maybe it's correct. Okay, so they get to make another token here. Narset, then Memory Deluge. Well, so yeah, they can't play the Chandra and upgrade Paladin class, but they could have just upgraded Paladin class and not played the Chandra, and I would have died. That's why I was hoping they didn't upgrade the Paladin class. Oh, yeah, there's an Adanto and a castle, so they can make something at the end of turn. Divine Purge, Memory Deluge. It's probably better to Narset here. I could hit a Lightning Helix, which would be pretty powerful. Wrath of God. No, Dovin's Veto's probably fine, though. I'm going to purge away these tokens. They make a new one. I can activate Adanto, then upgrade Paladin class, and punch something for 4. It's certainly looking like having stolen the Paladin class with the Archmage's Charm would have been the better option. Yeah, now the 4/4 is awkward, but they can't make any 1/1 here. And they just go for killing the Narset, which I'm all in favor of. Five, 4. I kind of feel like I should just play the Raugrin Triome and pass. I could animate the Hull to block the token. So I imagine they don't attack. If they do... Well, I still have Dovin's Veto up then. I think that's fine. Okay, opponent does attack, which means I don't have Memory Deluge available. They allow me to move to blocks, which means I can Dovin's Veto. Dovin doesn't do anything. That's not good. I kind of needed to use this Dovin's Veto to accomplish anything. Otherwise we just get into this state where eventually they're going to make their next land drop. And then be able to activate 2 lands to make tokens in a turn. I suppose I could take a risk and just Memory Deluge looking for a removal spell. They do already have enough. How come they didn't do that last turn? What did they spend mana on? Or did they play a tap land last turn? Is that what happened? Ah, okay, it was a tap land. Ooh, alright, this time they didn't attack into all the Storm Giants. Perfect. Hero. And Veto. What I need to do is get a 4 mana Aether. I think I actually take the untapped land. I'm not sure Dovin's Veto is going to be too helpful here.
You show remorse, I'll show restraint.
Oh, wait. I guess I just down-ticked Aether on Paladin class, and that's kind of excellent, isn't it? Huh. Yeah, I kind of forgot that was an option. I don't think I can justify a Day of Judgmenting right now. Opponent makes some token. Opponent makes some token. Yeah, opponent got a lot of token. Wedding Announcement seems like the kind of card I can't allow them to have, unfortunately. Though I don't imagine that's good for me, because it implies they've got another thing that they want to play next. Land Shock. Chandra. Put me to 2. Well, probably put me to 3.
These little guys are great.
Oh, well, right. They also have another utility land, huh? Fair enough. Yeah, that matchup seems kind of horrible. Alright, well, I can technically keep this. Esper Sentinel, okay. Looks like mono white. Yeah, the humans variety. Probably. I think I'm inclined... Oh, this isn't the 3 mana removal spell. It's a 4 mana removal spell. Well, that's worse. Utility Knife on Esper Sentinel, huh? Alright, that's a problem. I don't want to give my opponent more cards than I have to. Dauntless Bodyguard's gonna choose Thalia if I let it. That's pretty bad for me. This is kind of miserable, so I'm gonna end up taking 7 damage here. Okay, guess I have to hit Thalia in response then. Opponent draws a card. Not exciting. But this does give me the ability to play Archmage's Charm, stealing whatever they target with Dauntless Bodyguard. Which is to say probably Esper Sentinel. It is in fact what they chose. Okay. Well, this could be reasonable then. Sure. I'm already not really capable of interacting with Esper Sentinel anyway, so the Thalia making it cost 1 more doesn't make a difference. Steal the Esper Sentinel. They do still have a bunch of utility knives regardless. Lost 150 bullet rating yesterday, gained 150 blitz. Does that mean I'm getting old and wise? Huh. Oh, alright. Kabira take down their own creature. Very well. Does that mean you're getting old and wise? I'd like to think that, because that means that, geez, for real? That me being terrible at StarCraft nowadays isn't me getting old. Alright, well, yeah, I think I'm just kinda hosed. You can draw cards about it. That's just all the Thalias, huh? I suspect I'm dead here and there's not much I can do about it. Opponent just has to equip utility knives correctly. Oh, wait, no, hold on. These don't cost 1 to equip, so that's nice. Cool. More cards. How come the opponent's drawing, like, way more cards than me? It seems wildly unfair. More Esper Sentinels. Yeah, okay. Mono white is extremely good if you draw just mono Esper Sentinels and Thalias. Alright, let's see. I think I'm on plan draw board wipe, which I think the opponent knows how to play around by using Ranger Captain. Down to 5. So I need to draw a board wipe and a Lightning Helix here. Okay, the opponent sacks Ranger Captain, then maybe just Lightning Helix is good enough? Divine Purge. No, that won't do it. Cycle Raugrin Triome, hit Lightning Helix. Lightning Helix, Thalia, Flame Blessed Bolt, Esper Sentinel? Yeah, okay. Nope. Okay. Divine Purge in that spot would have been a lot worse than Anger of the Gods if we weren't so far behind that both of them weren't good enough. Anger of the Gods and Flame Blessed Bolts. And then maybe Shark Typhoons? I'm probably willing to cut Narsets. I'm probably willing to cut Commit. I'm probably willing to cut Aether. Maybe not. Maybe Aether giving Divine Purge Flash is actually good enough to be worth doing. In which case, I guess I cut Memory Deluge to trim the mana cost. Take the play. Okay. Can't really say no to this hand because it does function. Just doesn't function great. Okay, no 1-drop. That's a start. That's a start we're excited about. I will Flame Blast Bolt the Thalia before something else comes down that's more annoying. I don't know if the opponent plays indestructible spells post-board. I doubt they would use it to save 1 Thalia, but yeah. Still likely worth playing around. Gideon Blackblade. That's not Wrath of Godable. It is Teferi, Hero of Dominariable, I suppose, though. Elite Spellbinder. Well, opponent. Were you aware that having 2 Heroes of Dominaria prevents Spellbinder from locking me out of Hero of Dominaria? Okay, the Divine Purge isn't helpful. So I take the hit from Gideon, play Hero, down tick on Gideon. That way I've got a blocker set up for Elite Spellbinder. Taking the Wrath, huh? That's a curious choice. Why the Wrath over Divine Purge? Well, alright. We have more heroes. Successfully didn't get Mana Tides, so that's relevant. And excellent. Alright. Do we attack with a 2-2? No, I think I'd rather protect my Teferi if possible. What's my favorite card in Magic? Harmless Offering. But if you mean in terms of how interesting it is in a gameplay sense, then Wilderness Reclamation. Alright, Spellbinder at Teferi. We block that. Favorite commander? I've never built a commander deck. I've played with a bunch of friends' decks. I built a couple of Brawl decks. In which case, what commanders did I actually use for that? I used some blue-white Sphinx, whose name I forget. Anger of the Gods is an excellent draw. What about 9 lives? Haven't used 9 lives yet. Alright, Ranger Captain gone. Board state progressing. Wrath of Gods online. Teferis drawing cards. Well, Spellbinder, do you want to take Hero of Dominaria, or the board wipe? You want to take the board wipe? Really? Wow. Color me totally shocked. Okay, we're going to hardcast this Shark Typhoon for content. You're not allowed to say I don't do anything for you, chat. Offering Demonic Pacts with Harmless Offering is my favorite hobby in Magic by a long shot. Alright, we're gonna smack that Spellbinder and make a 2-2. Is this the part where the opponent concedes? Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, alright. We ship that. We ship that. Okay, this is functional. We have a 1-drop and a 3-drop. Opponent mulliganed. I say functional, but mostly I just mean it has a removal spell. And 1 removal spell is enough for me to define a deck as functional, I suppose. Least favorite Magic card? That would be Long Tusk Cub. Most assuredly. In the context of the standard that it existed in, there were removal spells that actually killed it. It was kind of dumb. Okay. Yeah, I want to wait to see what you do, opponent. I don't think I'm supposed to play around a protection spell on Sun Gold Sentinel here. Maybe I'm supposed to, but yeah. I want to see if they do something that makes me need to remove the Esper Sentinel instead of Sun Gold Sentinel. Looks like they're debating playing the card that puts an equipment on something. No, they're debating playing a Gideon. I see. Okay. What do you want to put Gideon on? Well, you want to protect Sun Gold Sentinel. That works for me. Because that was the card I preferred to kill here. Alright, I think I'm on Cycle Shark Typhoon to kill the Esper Sentinel. No, that won't work because they're going to uptick Gideon. Right. Huh, so then was I supposed to Archmage's Charm to steal it? Shock, give them a card? Giving them a card doesn't sound good.
I believe in you, friend.
I think I just take the damage, make a 1/1, and keep it around to block. Cool, they go get another Esper Sentinel. That's pretty terrible for me. See, this is why I want to just play blue-black and play Karavik. But they decide to nerf Lear for some reason, so I don't get to do that. Why you gotta be like that, Watsy? Alright, punch Gideon. I want to keep it off 6. Do I? Does that matter? I don't actually think so. Oh well. Already made the decision. So we're anticipating that Gideon upticks to give an Esper Sentinel indestructible. That would be a mistake. They should actually give it to Ranger Captain. But, you know, fine by me. You get a third Esper Sentinel. Yep. Here is where this Divine Purge not being an Anger of the Gods last turn actually is a huge problem. If I had gotten to play Anger of the Gods last turn, I'd be in decent shape. But Divine Purging this board of Ranger Captains and Esper Sentinels just wasn't acceptable. Opponent thought to sack the Ranger Captain before upticking Gideon. And after playing the Esper Sentinel. Oh, opponent, why do you have to play correctly? My life is so much harder as a result.
I will lend you my strength.
I'm pretty punished for attacking with the Shark here, because I'd kind of like to block that Ranger Captain, if I'm being honest. Once again in a bad spot, where if this Divine Purge was an Anger of the God, this wouldn't be terrible. Instead, it's merely bad. Well, actually, it's quite bad. Jeez. Alright, well, I can't really handle that Gideon at all. Protecting the Gideon? No, protecting the Thalia. Okay.
Your light will cleave the darkness.
What do I even got here? I can double block the Ranger Captain. Go to 2. Board wipe away, leave them with 7 damage. That sounds bad. Alright, go to 4. Hope they don't sack Ranger Captain. Hope that means something. It doesn't mean anything. No, I think I got nothing here. I don't think it matters whether the opponent sacks the Ranger Captain or not. I'm seeing no way out of this regardless. Yeah, Expressive Iteration's kind of useless. 2 chump blocks, taking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage. Play Teferi, bounce Thalia. No mana left over anyway. Nope. We'll cycle Shark Typhoon, get another blocker, hit Lightning Helix, shock, go to 2, Lightning Helix up to 5, kill Inquisitor Captain, chump block, take 6. I'm still dead. No outs. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, I know, Untapped, we're not in a match. The match just ended. Why did you pop up with an error message regarding that? Weird. Okay, so that match almost entirely was a result of Divine Purge being significantly worse than Anger of the Gods. I don't know that we would have lost Game 3. I don't know if we would have won Game 3 if we had an Anger of the Gods, but we would have been significantly less behind. Yeah. I hate not doing anything on the draw, but I hate mulliganing too. Interesting. Blood Crypt into Witch's Oven, no Gigantha. What does that mean? And to do nothing? I have no clue what the opponent's up to. Witch's Oven Seasoned Pyromancer? What? What's going on here? Wow, I really have just no clue what's going on. I assume I'm supposed to steal Witch's Oven? Okay, they get rid of Witch's Oven? Okay. Continue playing lands tapped. It's tempting to fire off Expressive Iteration to find interaction, but then we're kind of likely to just whiff on Expressive Iteration, I feel like. Could steal a 1/1 here. Probably not supposed to steal a 1/1 here. Probably supposed to hold up a counterspell here. What is my opponent doing? I don't understand what's happening. How am I supposed to play counterspells if I don't understand what my opponent's doing? Well, there's Divine Purge, I guess. Technically. I don't think I play that this turn. Probably try to play it next turn if I'm gonna. Alright. Well, this Expressive Iteration was a 2-for-1. Problem is that I'm not losing on card advantage, I'm losing on tempo. Opponent, do you have nothing but removal spells? Is that what's going on? Weirdly enough, I can't really answer if my opponent just animates down to the Bugbear and attacks. I kinda just have to eat a ton of damage. Luckily, they're not going for that. Priest of the Forgotten Gods. Okay, well, the plan is to Divine Purge and then play Narset next turn anyway, so, okay. John... I still don't know. I still don't really understand what's happening. Am I about to get collected company upon? I think I'm still holding up Archmage's Charm? I don't know. They're playing a lot of stuff that... No, I mean, like, they can't play collected company. But I'm so confused that I'm still willing to acknowledge the possibility that maybe. But, like... Opponent's deck is filled with a million non-Coco hits. This must be a... I can't say must be. But, like... It feels like this is a... Bolas' Citadel deck? Maybe? I'm gonna steal that token and then, like, hardcast Shark Typhoon, I guess. And just hope they don't kill me. I don't know. I've given up on having a plan. Just a thought, during the last two Landia, everyone and their mom wanted to play Control, right up until Rotting Regisaur or Egon Phyrexian Obliterator punched their teeth in. Mono Black might be an idea. Mono Black isn't a bad deck right now. This is true. Oh, okay. Well, fair. Claim the Firstborn killed me, I guess. Hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I guess that's true. One of the troubles with Mono Black is that it's very good against Jeskai. It's not super stellar against Mono White. It's happy when its opponents are playing Lightning Helixes and other spells that don't kill Regisaur and Phyrexian Obliterator. But when decks are actually playing Day of Judgments and Wrath of Gods and Divine Purges, Mono Black starts to become a lot less good of a choice. And I think the most common types of control are probably going to be just blue-white control. So I would want to try to play an aggro deck that was better against blue-white control, which in my opinion is probably Jund and Auras. I got a pretty strong belief that blue-white Auras is probably the correct deck to play this weekend, in all likelihood. But I do also think that's kind of a difficult deck to pick up on a whim. Does this turn into a red permanent? Yes. Alright. Let's jam Aether Gusts. I don't even want to play Divine Purge against... Maybe I want to. I don't know. The idea of rebuying them ETB Seasoned Pyromancers just is so inherently horrifying to me. Alright, let's cut the card draw because they seem to be more aggressive rather than attrition-y. Play Anger of the Gods. I can't cut this many Narsets. I'm going to trim Divine Purges. I think that's the death knell of Divine Purge. It just seems so bad against too many decks. Portable is great against Auras. It's good against Auras, yeah. But it's not great. Blue-white still suffers from having a lot of overly expensive sorcery speed removal, which is generally what Auras is pretty solid against. 2 mana removal is good. Along with Jeskai, you should have Jeskai Narset, card engine, mana engine, removal engine. Oh, the 4 mana Jeskai Narset? It's just too expensive. 4 mana is a lot, and it doesn't do enough to justify that, I think. I have no clue if I'm supposed to hold up Jwari Disruption here, because I still have no clue what my opponent's doing. But I guess I'm going to give it an opening to resolve this thing. I don't think they're going to Trail of Crumbs me. But if I thought my opponent was on a Trail of Crumbs deck, I would hold up Jwari Disruption in this spot. 4 mana Teferi also doesn't feel great, but I'm kind of the opinion that 4 mana Teferi isn't worth playing, period. And I don't think, like, the solution to that isn't necessarily to go and jump in bed with other 4 mana Planeswalkers that don't do enough. It's that perhaps the lesson is 4 mana Planeswalkers don't do enough. Do you ever build and play meme decks for fun? Not on stream typically, but yeah, I do. That's not true. I spent like the last week building Teamer Escape to the Wilds decks and Demonic Pact lists. So I guess the answer to the question is I refuse to admit that I do that. That's the actual answer. I guess we just get rid of Squirrel. What about the Midnight Innistrad Midnight Hunt? 4 mana Teferi who slows the sun, etc. Yeah, also kind of just way too slow and doesn't do enough. It's seen play in decks with Key to the Archive, because, like, with Key to the Archive, it's functional, but even in those decks, I don't actually like it. It's just so miserably slow. You have to do a lot for 4 mana to justify tapping out, and not a lot of the 4 mana Planeswalker options do enough to justify that. The playable 4 mana Planeswalkers tend to, right now, be more mid-range centric. Chandra, Torch of Defiance is the best one, and then Sorin, the Merciless, is probably the second best. Okay. Opponent draws 2. Cauldron Familiar. Oh no! They've assembled the Witch's Oven Cauldron Familiar combo. Anyway, I'm going to play this Teferi now. An uptick and hope the opponent doesn't remove it. Is there any play Rate of Hand Disruption cards with Tamiyo becomes a card to ever go into decks or sideboards, or is Tamiyo nowhere near good enough for that? The old Tamiyo that protects you from discard effects? Pretty much that passive. The War of the Spark Tamiyo is the one I'm assuming that is. If there's some synergy with... I could Flame Blast Bolt this, but I don't think that's worth tapping out of Aether Gust. Generally, no. Hand hate is most relevant on turns 1 and 2, and then like it falls off gradually after that. So a Planeswalker that comes down and protects you from hand hate effects on turn 4 is like, you've already reached the point in the game where hand hate effects aren't relevant, really. Yeah, okay. Is this an ability also? Yes, also abilities. So unfortunately, Aether Gust doesn't hit Graveyard Trespasser, and that's all of the removal that I have found this game. Whoops. Could downtick on Graveyard Trespasser and then Flame Blessed Bolt the Cauldron Familiar, I suppose? That's probably what I'm supposed to do. I think I'm discarding Jwari Disruption here. I assume the opponent sacks Cauldron Familiar and then brings it back because they are pressured into killing Teferi, and that gives me an opening to Flame Blessed Bolt the Cauldron Familiar. I don't think the opponent gets to run Spikefield Hazard in their 3-color deck. So far we've only seen green off Pathways, which makes me wonder if it's only for, like, modal cards like Lisette? Alright. Luckily, Kitty Cat Drain does not hit Planeswalkers. Yeah, the majority of the value from... more stuff that doesn't get hit by Aether Gust. Yuck. The majority of the value from the old Tamiyo came from the combo decks that played it just wanting something that dug deep for specific cards. And... no. I see what you're doing here, opponent, but no. They came for digging really fast for specific cards or being able to get them back from the graveyard with the minus. It really didn't have anything to do with the passive, particularly.
We need to move quickly.
Huh. Now here's an interesting conundrum. I could Hall of the Storm Giants and attack the Sorin. I'm probably supposed to do that. Either my opponent allows my Teferi to live by chump blocking with the 2/3, or they accept both of our Planeswalkers dying, which they probably want to accept both Planeswalkers dying. I think that's better for them. But luckily having the Narset as additional card advantage means that I'm sort of insulated from that. Any thoughts on Ixalan's Binding for the sideboard? Could be interesting to test. Again, kind of... it's very expensive, and your sideboard generally... oh, cool, City Stalker gets rid of Narset. Wow, that's awful. Or we can just top deck Teferi. That's cool. Now, could I please hit Lightning Helix? Really need to hit Lightning Helix. No more Teferis. Oh. Your sideboard generally wants to be mana efficient, because the thing that matters most post-board is improving your ability to interact efficiently, and boarding into expensive answers to stuff tends not to do that successfully. I should have Aether Gusted that before it resolved. I was anticipating that maybe they changed how they attacked, but they can choose to sack it to Witch's Oven now. And just get an extra point of damage that I didn't need to give them. Well, I'm kind of getting rocked by these top decks. Ooh, opponent chose not to play their creature for some reason. That's good for me. Gives me another opportunity to draw into Lightning Helix.
Let's skip to the good part.
And we did! Yay! Alright. Now we're talking. Okay, so they can't kill the Teferi immediately. Hall can block their creature. Hey, Big Mistakey. Thanks for the sub. I really appreciate the support. I don't know why the opponent didn't play the Graveyard Trespasser, but I think we're actually ahead now as a result of that. Here's a Ravenous Squirrel. It does draw cards. Are there any good Sultai decks right now? Not that I've seen. Nothing that really...
You know what?
The decks that exist right now have such effective interaction on curve that the ramp that green provides is kind of not necessary, or doesn't accomplish anything, I suppose is a better way to put that. Alright, Day of Judgment isn't terrible. We get to get rid of that Ravenous Squirrel before he draws more cards, protect our Teferi more. This is going kind of well. I'm enjoying it. On the off chance the opponent top decks something to give haste to Graveyard Trespasser, we actually have all the Storm Giants up to block here. I'm not sure if there's been like a good mid-range Sultai deck since Uro rotated, honestly. Alright, Graveyard Trespasser. This does not threaten the Teferi yet, and even if it transforms, because I don't top deck a spell, Teferi is going to be on 5 loyalty. Even assuming that they manage to get through all the Storm Giants somehow.
We need to move quickly.
We top deck the Teferi. I don't think I'm supposed to play that. I guess we untap 4 if I do. I don't think I'm supposed to play that. I think I'm supposed to play around the possibility that my opponent top decks a removal spell for Teferi. Well, they top decked a removal spell for one of these Teferis. I suppose I'm extremely happy currently that their Timberground pathway is on green. Oh, they have the Timberground pathway on green for the Ravenous Squirrel activation. Okay. Otherwise, I'm guessing they're probably just a red-black deck. But that is costing them the ability to activate Kroxa here, so that's cool. This doesn't have Menace, right? Oh, they must just have Fatal Push then. Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. No? No Fatal Push? Just forgot? Okay. Sure, that does kill all the Storm Giants. That's fair, opponent. That's fair. You make a lot of food. He's all true. Up to Kiro. We have an Aether Gust for the Kroxa. That sounds stellar. 2 loyalty away from ultimating Teferi. Land drop for the opponent. You'll love to see it. They escape the Kroxa, lose a bunch of cards out of their graveyard, then we Aether Gust them. I don't think Claim is decent. In fact, I think their deck is probably built in a way that makes it so that they don't have enough cards to bring in to cut the Claims, because Claim is not a good card against control at all, and it's kind of a huge liability. Having Claim in your deck being a weakness is why Jund kind of originally fell off as the top anti-creature deck. Because when Jeskai Control started showing up after it got Lightning Helix and Expressive Iteration and Memory Lapse, you just couldn't afford to play that many cards that were totally dead against control decks. Okay, so the opponent is actually red-black, kind of grindy mid-range version of red-black, which doesn't necessarily explain what we saw in Game 1, but at least informs me that I'm supposed to value card draw. And probably not super value Flame Blessed Bolt. I guess I actually do value Divine Purge if my opponent's on a Graveyard Trespasser plan? Maybe? Maybe. Alright, we'll bring in the Divine Purges. It's potentially interesting against Sorin, at least. Do I ever cut Jwari Disruption? No. I generally don't ever build decks where I cut lands. I think I might have done that in like one matchup before in a deck that had 29 lands, but yeah, I like making land drops, and my habits when it comes to keeping hands tend to run on the side of being willing to keep low land hands, and that's a pretty strong incentive to play more lands. Yeah, Dreadhorde Butcher. That's inconvenient. Would like to be able to Aether Gust to handle that. The mana base is fine, but it's not necessarily about colors, it's about number of lands. And the Jwari Disruptions help with that. Totally unfamiliar with how to approach land count with modal double-faced cards and 60-card decks. My general assumption is to treat a modal double-faced card as basically a land, and I generally want to play about 28 lands in most of my decks. 27 if I have to stretch. Modal double-faced cards make me more comfortable playing 28, but I don't want to play fewer than 27. Really? Nothing? Okay. Well, I'm just going to draw cards then and probably commit this Dreadhorde Butcher on their turn. I mean, I could Divine Purge it, but I don't really want to do that yet. They could sack this in response here to do damage to me. I'm kind of surprised. I guess I'm not surprised they hadn't done that earlier to make a land drop, but... yeah. I would have made land drops. But that's a bias, not necessarily a correct decision. Ravenous Squirrel, Witch's Oven, sure. Well, so I could anger the gods that if I wanted to. Do I want to? I don't know. Can't say I feel like this Ravenous Squirrel is particularly scary at the moment. I don't have any 1-drops to get with Narset, which is probably a flaw in how I boarded. I think I'm just supposed to hold up Archmage's Charm here, either to counter something or to steal the squirrel. I don't actually wind up stealing the squirrel, they probably sack it to Witch's Oven, but that's actually preferable because I got Divine Purges anyway. Stealing something isn't actually removal, but if they sack it, getting it off the board is actually removal. Jwari is one of the awkward modal double-faced cards because you always want to play it early, and generally you want to play the tap land early as well. I think that actually makes it one of the... I wouldn't say necessarily better, but I would say a lot easier to understand double-faced cards, because you get to make the decision about whether you should be playing it as a tap land or not very quickly. Okay, well then I'm just angering. Yeah, commit to memory gone, that's fine. Because you can just look at your opening hand and know immediately, oh, I should try to use Jwari Disruption as a spell because I have too many lands, or, oh, I should use Jwari Disruption as a land because I don't have enough lands. I feel like having the decision-making be kind of simplified in that manner is nice. Alright, opponent gets a food. We play a Narset. Opponent's still kind of hampered by the lack of land drops. I think I take Archmage's Charm. We're hoping to dodge opponent playing untap land into 4-mana Planeswalker. The way I heard someone explain what all these cards are, you assign them a single value as a slot in your deck, land or non-land, and benefit when you come across the opportunity to use the other side. Sort of. I mean, that's not a terrible heuristic. I think that the reality is probably somewhere slightly in the middle, but I don't know whether to count double-faced cards as like half a land or 3/4 of a land. I generally just try to view them as one land and try to get to 28 lands, I suppose. No, all of these are good. I think I got enough card advantage. I think I just probably want Aether Gust, since I've already got the Archmage's Charm anyway. Yeah, let's just Divine Purge to clear out all this other nonsense. In a spot like this where your opponent's missing land drops, that is definitely where Divine Purge feels better. The card disadvantage isn't as relevant. Mayhem Devil. Okay, I think that's probably fine. Cauldron Familiar. Okay, that's probably fine. I'm probably just going to wind up Divine Purging this board away. So let's Expressive Iteration, see what we get. We're going to put Jwari Disruption in hand, and Glacial Fortress over on the side, and then we're going to play Glacial Fortress, cast a Divine Purge, hold up an Archmage's Charm. That's what, 2 of our Divine Purges so far? Okay. I don't like that my opponent essentially has as many cards in hand as I do. It makes me feel bad. Cauldron Familiar drains us for 1. We still hold on to the Archmage's Charm. Use Expressive Iteration. Put an Aether Gust in hand. Put a Narset into play. Does the cost increase for multiple Divine Purges stack? Yes. And including if they cast Mayhem Devil and then I Aether Gust it and they put it on the top of their library, that 2 more also sticks around when they draw it next time too. Alright, well I guess I committed myself to playing this Narset here. There's a Aeteferi. Alright. I think we play the untapped land here so that I can hold up Lightning Helix and Aether Gust. Memory Emergencies and Smothering Tithes. That's delightful. Kind of tempted to Lightning Helix this Cauldron Familiar to prevent the damage, but I don't think I need to. Probably. Hopefully. I guess if they wind up playing Witch's Oven, I Lightning Helix the Cauldron Familiar. But then I can also Jwari Disruption something if they do anything in response. Unless they make a land drop. So I guess best case scenario, they go land drop, play Mayhem Devil, I get to Aether Gust it and Lightning Helix the cat. Chandra Torch of Defiance. Yeah, I should probably Aether Gust that because I actually want them to redraw it right now, even though it's super tempting to get a use out of Jwari Disruption. Oh, they don't accept it. Bummer. Alright, I want to use my cards, I want to remove that, I want to not take damage. So, smacking Cauldron Familiar, not the most exciting thing in the world, but I'm just willing to do that here. Let's activate Narset, see what that finds. More Aether Gusts, why not? Alright. I don't know how hurt the opponent was by the lack of lands there, but at least we were drawing enough cards that the card disadvantage from Divine Purge didn't matter, which is admittedly the scenario that I did describe as being where Divine Purge is good. Yeah. I still think overall I'm not, like, enthusiastic about Divine Purge after all of that. Think I'm off it.